Hi everyone, Savager here with a Retribution Paladin PVP guide for the current patch 8.3. I will be going over the best pally races, the best stats to stack, the talents, PVP talents, what Heart of Azurite traits to use, and what the best corruption effects are for PVP, and trinkets, and finally DPS rotation. Alright, so let's get into it. So first, we'll discuss paladin races. I would say the best paladin race to use would have to be the Dark Iron Dwarves. Their racial is Fireblood, which removes poison, disease, curse, magic, bleed effects, and it also increases primary stats by 100 for each removed effect, and it lasts 8 seconds. And the second race I would go for is probably humans because they get an increase to stats, like increase to all of these stats, and the racial is pretty good, which is um, what was it called? Every man for himself, which gets you out of a stun. But one thing to keep in mind is it shares cooldowns with your medallion trinket, but it's like a minute 30, I think. Like the ratio is 3 minutes, but then you can use your trinket a minute 30 after that. So it's like having like two escapes, which is pretty nice every minute and a half. And lastly, I would say Blood Elves are good. I mean, their Arcane Torrent got nerfed, but I mean, it's still pretty good. It removes one beneficial effect from all enemies within 8 yards. So the most notable thing I can think of is Bop. You can get rid of Bops, which is really nice. And also you can get rid of Thorn from Druids, which is a huge headache for a lot of melee classes. But the reason why I think Blood Elves should be last is because a lot of Paladin skills can go through Bop. Like Judgment can go through, Wake of Ashes can go through. I think Divine Storm goes through as well, but I'm not too sure on that. So yeah, so those are the races I would go for. Right now I'm a human. I just like how humans look, and I really like the racial. Even though I think Dark Iron Dwarves are better, I don't know, like, I'd rather just be a human. Like, appearance matters to me too, because you know how wild people are, like, appearance is important. So yeah, I mean, I might make a Dark Iron Dwarf soon too, but yeah, so this one character is a human. So I'll go in here and explain the stats I choose. Alright, so I stack versatility, which increases damage and healing done and decreases damage taken. So it's like you get increased damage and you get a damage reduction. And the state of WoW right now is it's all about burst windows, right? It's like in arena and PvP, you always try to cross CC and use that burst window to burst people down. And because of how bursty it is, you need that damage reduction in my opinion. So yeah, I stack verse. I have tried mastery. That's what I used to originally do because like mastery increases holy damage by a lot. But I felt like the big hits were good, but I was just so squishy. So I definitely prefer versatility, and also it increases damage too. So it's like it's not as much, but it's still good. The next one, I've done haste as well, but the reason why I didn't like stacking haste is because like I would get all my cooldowns really fast because of haste, but I just felt like I was just spamming a lot of keys and just not doing a lot of damage. So haste is it's okay, like you can try it, but honestly, I would definitely I would definitely go verse if not mastery second. And crit, as we all know, in PvP is halved, so it's not useless, but nobody stacks that in PvP. That's usually for PvE. So yeah, those are the stats. And so next we'll move on to talents. So first row, I always go execution sentence, which does calls down the light's punishment upon an enemy's target, dealing 31/6. Well, that number varies, but yeah, it does damage, and it increases holy damage taken from your attacks by 20% for 12 seconds. So you add that in your burst rotation, and you get much fatter hits. And it's 20%, which is huge for 12 seconds. Every 30 seconds, that's honestly like just a given to just go this. Righteous Verdict is okay, but it's just like this is like for more consistent damage, but Execution Sentence is honestly where it's at. And it also gives you that ranged DPS, like if you can't get to them and they're like really low, and you happen to have this, and like it could finish them off, you just use it or whatever. But anyways, so yeah, and Hammer of Wrath is what I go for the second row. Um, it's a filler during burst rotations. So like, when you have your wings up, like sometimes like you won't have anything to click for a while. So this helps a lot. It does damage. It gives you holy power and stuff. And also you can use it when they have less than 20% health. So it's kind of like a really really weak execute. And it's also ranged. Like the thing is, like rep pallies are so immobile. We're like rolling around in a wheelchair, so it's like good to have like a lot of ranged skills if you can. And this row, the level 45 row, all three of these are good. It's honestly just situational. I mostly run repentance because like if you're going after DPS, you go repentance. So you rep the healer, and that's what, like 7 seconds, I think. It's crazy. So like if you and your healer can coordinate, you can keep up so much CC like on the healer, and they'll eventually fall. But this is usually when like your main target is gonna be DPS. So like if I see a holy pally on the other team, I usually go repentance because like they're pretty immobile and they have to cast their spells. So like when they stick their head out to heal the DPS, like you just repentance them, and that's like free 7 seconds. if I if I'm going healer, I go Fist of Justice, also known as Fast Dodge. It just reduces your Hammer of Justice cooldown by 2 seconds every time you spend Holy Power. Each Holy Power spent. So yeah, this is good. Blinding Light is good. I rarely go this, but like you can go this. It's still good. Like let's say like if a DK uses Abomination and summons all his pets and stuff, you can blinding light them, and that's like 5 seconds on like all of them, so you can just get away and whatnot. And repossession yourself, and like Destro locks. They also have a lot of pets, so this can be useful for that. This row, Wake of Ashes all the way. 5 holy power, massive damage. You know, like what more can you ask for? And it's AOE damage, and it also removes speed for 50 by 50%, which is good. And I'm pretty sure this goes, or I'm sure this goes through Bop, which can be crucial. So yeah, that's that. This row, these two, Cavalier and Eye for an Eye, is what I switch around. I'm, for the most part, I use Cavalier, which gives us Divine Steed. Makes it 2 charges instead of 1, and that helps our mobility a bit because we're so immobile. But if they're like DP, or if they're melee comp and I know they're gonna go me, then I go eye for an eye, so I pop that, and this is every minute. Reduces physical damage taken by 35%, which is huge. So like, if you have Omnibar, which tells you, the enemy's cooldowns or whatever, so like, you see like a rogue, his kidney shot's about to be up, he's most likely gonna use it like, when it's up. So like, right when it's coming up, you use eye for an eye, so he kidney shots you, but you get 35%. I mean, if he goes behind you, I guess not, but still like having that is like good. And this row, the only one to look at is honestly Selfless Healer. Your holy power spending abilities reduce the cast time of your next Flash of Light by 25% and increase its healing done by 10%. Stacks up to 4 times. So, you know, the fourth time is an instant heal. So every 4 times you use like a holy power spending ability, you get an instant heal. That's also increased by 40% because it's stacked 4 times. So you can off heal yourself, or I mean your healer when he gets into trouble or whatnot. And you can also keep yourself healed, like it's really good. It used to be Word of Glory, but they nerfed the crap out of it, as I'm sure you guys know, like a long time ago. So yeah, and these two, I used to always like have, like I loved Crusade, It's like, it did so much damage. It's like maximum 10 stacks. So once you stack it by 10 times, your haste is increased by 30% and damage done is increased by 30%. And I believe this goes for 25 seconds, but with one of your pieces, you can increase it to I think 30 seconds. But anyways, but the thing is like, so I simulated the damage between Crusader wings and like regular wings, which this is the regular wings, which is Avenging Wrath. It increases your damage, healing, and critical strike chance by 20% for 20 seconds, so it's 5 seconds shorter than Crusade. But it's like you don't have to ramp it up, you don't have to stack it. It's just once you pop it, it's 20% right there for 20 seconds. With your Azurite Peace trait, it'll make it to 25. And your first Templar's Verdict or Divine Storm will critically strike, which is huge. Like, so as I was talking earlier about how this game right now, the state it's in, it's all about burst windows, right? So this is so good because you just hodge, and then you get an instant crit, no guarantee, no matter what. Your first hit is a crit. So this is very good, and the thing is, like, there's a lot of things in Paladin's kit that like synergizes very well with the regular wings, but I'm gonna get more into that later as we get down the list. Okay, so next thing is PvP talents. Um, Gladiator's Medallion is, you guys all know what it is. It's what I run usually, and I run Relentless though if I'm facing a lock, because they're just gonna be spamming fear all the time. Like, there's no point in using this, cleansing one thing, every 2 minutes, whereas like you could literally just decrease the duration of fear by 20% the whole match. So locks, and sometimes I go DH also. But I mean, mostly locks. Like it's just if I see a lock, I'll just throw that on there. And for these three, there are a few that you can use. So first one I'll talk about is Hammer of Reckoning. I call it Baby Wings. So consumes 50 stacks of Reckoning to hurl a magic hammer. So when you initially use this, it uses a Hammer of Wrath, I think. Like it's pretty much what it is. So you have that little damage, and you gain Avenging Wrath for 6 seconds, which means you have 20% increased damage, and the biggest thing is that you get that instant crit. So it's like another small burst window that you can put in with your Avenging Wrath. So this is 1.5, and this you get it every 50 stacks. So it's like you have main wings, which is this, and then you got baby wings, and it's like really hard for the enemy to like deal with that type of pressure. So I like this a lot. And another thing is Law and Order is a must. Like this is for sure. Like I don't like some people said oh in threes if like your other DPS guy has like a lot of slows then you don't have to use this. But honestly, like I use this no matter what because paladins are so mobile and like it's so easy for like the enemy to get away from you. You need this slow in your kit. I never change this out. And then third thing is Lawbringer, which Judgment now applies. Lawbringer to initial targets hit for 45 seconds, and then casting it again on the same target uh, makes them suffer up to 5% of their maximum health and holy damage. So that's just like really good. Like anytime you have like percentage, damage skills, like you know how like fire mages have or greater pyro, which is like 35%. It's like no matter what, it's just like 35%. It's like really good. So I use Lawbringer a lot. So when I want to switch it out, I would switch it out with I if I want to switch stuff out, I switch these two out. I never touch this Law and Order. And the two other ones that are useful in the PvP talents is Blessing of Sanctuary, which is, your teammates freaking love you if you use this. Every 45 seconds, instantly remove all stun, silence, fear, and horror effects from the friendly target, and reduce the duration of future such effects by 60% for 5 seconds. Every 45 seconds, it's like if there's a rogue, on the enemy team, anyone that like stuns a lot, or even like Warlock Fears, Holy Pally Hodges, you can get that off your healer, but this is a little tricky to use. Like this one, you have to be really aware, you know, of like what's going on to your teammates. So like yeah, this is hard to use, but if you can use it effectively, it is so good. And your healer will freaking love you for it. And the last one I want to talk about is Unbound Freedom, which increases movement speed by 30%, and you gain Blessing of Freedom when cast on a friendly target, so you can give it to your healer and you'll both have it, and it's 30% increased speed. And also, it's undispellable, which is very key. So I use this when I'm going against like a DK or a DH or a mage. Like DK uh, are pretty immobile, and they're gonna try to stick on your healer for most of the time. And if you give that to the healer, then like your healer can just kite around. You just slow down the DK, a bit, and like it really screws up their damage. And also Demon Hunters. I use this also for healers because Demon Hunters are always just trying to mana rift, mana rift, mana rift. Drain your healer's mana pool by stunning them and using mana rift, right? So every 45 seconds you can screw that up for them, and like that really sets DHs back in my opinion. And also against mages, because it can spell steal your freedom, and when you get your freedom stolen by a mage, like and they're just kiting you around all the time, like you're just screwed. and this makes you be able to catch up to them, like keep up with them, and also they can't dispel it. And it's really funny because mages, like, they see you use freedom and they're just spamming spell steal for like 3, 4 GCDs, and they're just like, why isn't this coming off, you know? Yeah, it's like that. So I really enjoy Unbound Freedom against mages. Okay, so yeah, so if I ever want to use any of these two, I would switch Hammer of Reckoning or Lawbringer, you know, whichever one. But yeah, always keep Law and Order. Alright, so that's PvP talents. So now I'm gonna talk about Heart of Azurite essences. So Vision of Perfection is what I use like 99% of the time, which increases your Avenging Wrath for 35%. Or no, that's not it. Reduces the cooldown of Avenging Wrath by 24.9%, and it also gives you versatility. And you know how I said I like stacking versatility, and it also has a chance to proc your wings, which is like random crits for you, which is huge because you know like crits are so like unappreciated in PvP because they halved it because you know it'd be too OP. But like these are guaranteed crits, which is very, very, very good. And if you don't want to use this, the second one I like to go is Crucible of Flame. I think a lot of people like to use this. It's ranged and you can have max 2 charges if you have it up to rank 3 at least, I think. And it's a 30-second cooldown, which is very short, and you have max 2 charges. So it's like it's very good consistent damage. And the thing is it's ranged also, which is awesome. And the last one I would use is the Focusing Iris. You know, the one that you cast and it does a huge amount of damage if you get to, you know, use it all. But you know, like you can get kicked and stuff, but the thing is like what I do is like if I have nothing, like if all my cooldowns are like kind of like messed up, like you know I don't have it all up, but then I have them in a Hodge and I want to do a lot of damage, I can use this Focusing Iris, you know, 5 seconds of Hodge of being stunned, like you can definitely get this full channel off. And from what I remember, it used to do like 20-25% of their health, which is huge, right? So yeah, those are for the main. And the side ones, I like to go Conflict and Strife always, which gives you versatility, stacks it up, stacking up to 8 times, and each stack is 60 versatility for 14 seconds. And if you lose control or movement impairing effect hits you, it also gives you a stack of Strife. So that's versatility on versatility on versatility. Like, that's what I like. And a second thing I use is Breath of the Dying, which is like good like side damage, you know, without you having to use anything. And it also heals you for 50% of the damage dealt. And the corruption resistance is, you know, big right now because this whole patch is all about the corruption effects and whatnot. And the other one is I use Focusing Iris, which gives me haste. Because like I'm not stacking haste, like my haste is pretty low, but this helps me a lot where I don't feel like, you know, I'm too low on haste. And also since I use Inquisition right here, it gives you 7% per holy power, and you should always have this up. So, you know, like haste is like solved kind of like through that. And so corruption effects is what's like big right now in 8.3, right? A lot of people are just trying to get, sorry, a lot of people are trying to get corruption pieces, you know, have those abilities, but for PvP right now, I think the only two useful ones are Infinite Stars which does a lot of damage. Your spells and abilities have a chance to strike a nearby enemy with an infinite star, dealing, these arcane damage and increasing their damage taken from infinite stars by 25%, stacking up to 10 times. So this, throughout the match will just keep stacking and just keep doing more damage. And then the other one is, I believe, yes, Twisted Appendage. This is super annoying. It basically summons a tentacle that does like damage. Like, if you ever seen like Shadow Priests, summon those things, it's like, yeah, like it just. But the thing is, like, it's so strong. Like, you have to kill it. And a lot of times it's so annoying to like click it and like kill it while you're like fighting and stuff. But like, you have to kill it. So this is a very good damage output, and also like a disruptor for like the enemy, because they have to like stop what they're doing and like kill it. Even though it takes like a few seconds at the most to like target and kill it, you know what I mean? Like, it's still, you know, anything helps, you know what I mean? The other stuff like the, type 1, type 2, I don't really care about these too much, because if you have uh like high level infinite star, like 20, 50, 75, it's a lot of corruption. And I like to stay under 40 corruption, because at 40 you get that stupid negative effect that just screws you over. I believe, yeah, Grand Illusions, you don't want that. So try to stay under 40. Like, even 39 is good, just no 40. Alright. And so trinkets that I like to use are, don't laugh at my eye level right now for the remote guidance device. Like, I've been trying to farm this to get a higher one, but it just won't drop. Like, I got this like really lucky when I first came back to BFA, and like Mythic 2, yeah, as you can see. But this does so much damage. Like, it says 53,000 and then another 20,000, but when this crits, even at 435, it'll pull like 150, 120, 150 easily. So that's like 150k from a trinket. That's crazy. And like, it's only 435 also, so imagine if you got a 460 remote, like, it'd be just massive damage. And also, it doesn't share global cooldown, so like, you use it in your burst rotation, and since it doesn't share the GCD, you can use it, right in the middle of you using another spell. And then another trinket I like is the Drestagath. This is from the most recent raid. But yeah, it does. This also doesn't share GCD either, so you can use it while you're using another spell, which is, really good. And it does 122k damage, like, instantly. So, that's fat. It's very fat. And other notable trinkets that I like to mention is the Gladiator's Badge, which is a PvP trinket. I believe it gives you versatility stats, and the active is like, it increases your primary stats by like 2,000 plus. So when you use your wings, you just pop that with it, and you just have 2,000 more strength, which is pretty good. And Maledict, I'm sure you guys all know, that's also good, but it got nerfed, so I don't see too many people using it lately. But yeah, I will say try to get these two and just kind of, yeah, stick with these. It's honestly so much damage. And yeah, that's it for trinkets. So now I will show you guys the damage rotation. Let me get myself there. Let me get myself to a training dummy. Alright, so I'm gonna say it first, okay? So what I like to do is Blade of Justice, Crusader Strike. By now you have 3 combo points. You use Inquisition to give yourself that haste, and then you hodge them, You pop your wings, you Wake of Ash for the 5 combo points, you use Execution Sentence to get you that 20% more damage uh, in your burst window. You Judgment, which uh, increases, causing them to take 25% more increased damage from your next ability that costs Holy Power. So yeah, so you Execution Sentence, you Judgment, and then you Templar's Verdict. And that'll give you fat damage. So I'll show you. So first, I go Blade of Justice, I go Crusader Strike, Inquisition, and then I Hodge, I Wings, I Wake of Ash, Execution Sentence, Judgment, Templar's Verdict. So that's the rotation. And as you can see here, 225k damage. But yeah, like, you just play around with this. Like, it's very important to like do a lot of like, you know, different rotations on the training dummy to know like what gives you the maximum output when you want it. You know what I mean? So yeah, you see, like, I just got a random proc. But see, without the Execution Sentence and the Judgment, it only just did 145k, right? So if you use what I just said, then you would get that fat 225k crit. So yeah, so I'll say it again. So Blade of Justice, Crusader Strike, Inquisition, then you Hodge them, Wings, Wake of Ash, Execution Sentence, Judgment, and then Templar's Verdict. That's how I start out pretty much every time. Like, I don't do it like immediately, but that's what you want to do when you want to burst. Alright, so one thing I forgot to talk about is Azerite traits. So I will talk about that right now. What I like to do is I stack Avenger's Might, which gives you 870 mastery, but the number of the mastery will differ depending on what your eye level is for that piece. So mine's like 480, so it gives me 870. But yeah, whenever you pop your wings, it'll increase your mastery by 870, and you stack that 3 times, and it's like 2500 mastery. So that's a lot of big damage for when you have your wings up. And you also want 1 Empyrean Power, which your attacks have a chance to make your next Divine Storm free and deal additional damage. So these are like nice random procs you can get that makes Divine Storm free. And the last thing is, I don't have it yet. Like, I used to have it, but I traded it out for like higher eye level pieces, and I don't have it at the moment, which is unfortunate. But it is called Light's Decree, which spending Holy Power during Avenging Wrath causes you to explode with Holy Light, so it adds a bit more damage. And the key thing is that it increases Avenging Wrath duration by 5 seconds. So yeah, that'll make your wings, I believe 25 seconds. And then if you decide to use Crusade, that brings it up to 30 seconds. So yeah, you want one of that. But stacking Light's Decree does not increase the duration. Like, if you have two, it won't make it like plus 10 seconds. It'll just increase the damage, which is very minimal. So you just really need one of that, and those are like the main traits that you want, and the other ones you can kind of like play around, see which ones you like. And yeah, so yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. That's it for my guide. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments, and I will answer it, as much as I can. I should be able to answer all your questions. And yeah, so that's it for the guide. Thank you guys, and I will see you guys next time.